back at it again here, and our lead this hour comes from the National Football League, and it was very quiet for the Trolls, very tough night for the Trolls around the MALLER militia, as Monday Night Football in the Valley of the Sun, the battle-scarred LA Rams taking on the Arizona Cardinals, the number one seed in the NFC. Whee! Number one. Did you watch the game? Perhaps not. Perhaps you slept or you did something else, or I don't know what you got going on in your life, but I watched because I have no life, and they actually pay me to watch these games. Go figure. It's a good job. So we watched. It's our good mitzvah of the day. And Matthew Stafford, I've been told, highly overrated. Can't win against good teams, Matthew Stafford. That's what the smart people told me. Well, Matthew Stafford was brilliant. He had 287 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, and 0 interceptions. And the Rams, underdogs on the road against the big, bad number one seed, win rather easily. 30-23, they had a 14-point lead going to the fourth quarter, never trailed after they took the lead in the third quarter over the Cardinals. So L.A. improves to 9-4, and they are lurking like a snake in the grass, just waiting for Arizona to F this up as the Cardinals dropping to 10-3 on the season with a really embarrassing loss. I think we can all agree on that. So let us discuss the question. Were the Cardinals exposed against the Rams? And the only answer, and I'm nodding yes, that's the only answer, exposed. And it was wonderful. I've got Baloney, Songbook, and Mythbusters. And we will tie all of these things together into a nice, neat, poetic MALLER monologue. Now, as I have said for many, many years, as I bloviate into the night, the better story is in the losing locker room, and so that's where we will start. Now, this game was what? It was a thermometer special. Now, what does that mean? Taking the temperature of your football team, a wellness check. And Arizona might have to go on the list because they're not doing very well right now. They showed the critics that they deserve to be second-guessed. That's fair game. And all those people say, I don't understand why the Cardinals don't get any credit. Boo-hoo-hoo. Frauds. The Cardinals had every advantage you could possibly hope for. Home field, check. Rams shorthanded, devastated by last-minute COVID. Asymptomatic cases to all-pro defensive back, shut down, lockdown defensive back. Jalen Ramsey, the future Hall of Famer, couldn't play. Rock solid, tight end Tyler Higbee, unable to go. So missing a key player on offense and a key player, an immortal player defensively in Jalen Ramsey. And the Rams go out there and win convincingly. And also, might I add, playing Matthew Stafford, who you told me was a bum. You told me he's a bum. And, you can't win with this guy against anybody halfway decent. You cannot win. Yeah, smart football people. Losers. Arizona failed to take advantage of all of that. So it's fair to say that the Arizona Cardinals of 2021 are a team of baloney, as in phony baloney. Every man, woman, and child that can hear my voice can agree with me that this Cardinal team is, say it with me now, overrated. Overrated. Yeah. Appearances can be deceiving. It's a house of cards situation. When you take a closer look, this team is weak. Right? For example, should have lost to Minnesota. Viking kicker shanked a very makeable kick for a professional kicker, so that would have been a loss. Arizona did lose to the Green Bay Packers, and you say, well, that's not a bad loss. But then you realize that the entire Packer wide receiver room was out with COVID, and they had guys that should be working, delivering packages, who were playing receiver for Green Bay, and they won that game. And the Panthers, playing most of that game with XFL reject P.J. Walker. And I'm back, Cam Newton. And now you lose to a Ram team without their stud defensive back, without the great Jalen Ramsey. Holy cannoli. Depleted roster. What a joke. Now, part B of this. I've heard a lot of chatter also, a lot of radio chatter about Kyler Murray for MVP, the little guy. MVP. We would like to take a page out of a late broadcaster, NFL player, Dandy Don's songbook. So I'd like to serenade Alligator Arms, the pipsqueak. Turn out the lights. The party's over. Yeah, can we now put the kibosh on the Kyler Murray MVP campaign for this year? Thank you very much. Kyler Murray and the Cardinal offense, when they were in scoring situations, was impotent pretty much the entire night, working as a stat bandit. And, oh, wait a minute, he won my fantasy football league for yards. Whoop-de-damn-do. Whoop-de-damn-do. A lot of empty yards. The stat bandit. All right? Rams had a 14-point lead going to the fourth quarter, and Kyler Murray, he piled on those garbage yards, 156 passing yards to fatten up the stat sheet in the fourth quarter. But the most important stat, last I heard, was points scored. If you're an offensive player, a quarterback, how many points do you score? Cardinals didn't score enough. And when the game was in the balance, he wilted under pressure. The moment was too big. Kyler took a ride on the Vomit Comet. He finished with as many touchdown passes as I had and you had. We had the same amount as Kyler Murray. Oh, but he also had 2 more interceptions and a fumble. Oh, wow. What a great night. Sign me up for some of that. Kyler Murray was fortunate. That was all the damage that was done. By my count, I was taking copious notes during the game. And I had at least 2 more passes that should have been picked off that were thrown right to Ram defenders. And they had hands of stone. So you're looking at a Trevor Lawrence-like performance where you have 4 interceptions and no touchdowns. That's your MVP? That's your MVP? Alligator Arms had so many opportunities to make plays. Couldn't make it, right? And a motley crew of Ram defensive backs missing the iconic Jalen Ramsey. Asymptomatic COVID, not allowed to play. DeAndre Hopkins, all-pro receiver. He was there. It's targeted 12 times, only caught 5 passes. That's humiliating, emasculating. DeAndre Hopkins, 5 catches on 12 pass attempts. Kyler Murray's passer rating, 72.1. Kind of reminds you of Jared Goff a little bit, doesn't he? Yeah. All right, last word here. So as for the Rams, okay, let's move over to the Rams. This was a victory that showed moxie. Rather than sulk and feel bad for themselves, LA put on their big boy pants and played with some gumption. And I love it. We pointed this out last week. The Rams, you don't get any credit for beating Jacksonville, but what the Rams did is they established a different identity in that game. And that carried over here. The Rams mixing in a heavy dose of the running game. Sony Michel, the ex-Pat, his stat line was not sexy. But it was essential. The former Belichick first-round pick, Sony Michel, had 79 yards. Not that great on 20 carries. Pretty generic stat line. However, the commitment to the running game forced the Arizona defense to be a little bit more honest, right? That opened up holes to exploit in the passing game with the play-action pass. And in the end, this game turned into a Mythbusters marathon, debunking several popular pigskin myths, lame legends that have been shared over recent weeks. Strike 1, Sean McVay is a glamour coach who's unwilling to commit to the run and change his style. Strike 2, Odell Beckham is a jinx. He's a chemistry killer. He and Von Miller are destroying the Ram locker room. Strike 3, Matthew Stafford can't beat a good team, certainly not on the road. He is Stat Padford. As my man, I love him, Rob Parker likes to say, and many people have stolen that line from Rob Parker and repackaged that it's Stat Padford. And the stat, several of you sent me this stat, that Matthew Stafford had been 0-17 in his career against teams that were 5 games or more above 500 in his career. 0-17. Oh, my God, there's no way the Rams could have won this game. Well, as we pointed out, that's exactly what happened. McVay mixing in the run, the pass, the old-fashioned play action. OBJ was a maestro at the wide receiver position. 6 catches, 77 yards, and a touchdown. That's 3 games in a row now that OBJ has found pay dirt, the perfect number 2 receiver behind Cooper Kupp, as he is now settling in Odell Beckham Jr., much to the dismay of the rest of the NFL that OBJ's arrived. This is more the Giants version than the putrid Cleveland Brown version that showed up in recent years. And Matthew Stafford was not only a quarterback, he was brilliant. A marvelous, bravo performance here. And might I add that the door is not closed for Matthew Stafford to win the Most Valuable Player award. Did Matthew Stafford put his name back in the hopper? I say yes. And I'll tell you why. It's wide open. Nobody has established themselves as a clear front runner. Now, if it's even, the tie will go to Tom Brady. But there's a path here. The Rams have now won 2 in a row. They get to 9-4. They have a very manageable schedule the rest of the way now that they've changed their identity mid-season here. They play a bad Seahawk team, a bad Viking team on the road. Those are the next 2 games. Then they play a Ravens team. Who knows whether Lamar Jackson will be able to play by that point. He's supposedly going to come back this week, but he's very fragile. And then a bad 49er team at the end of the year. So if the Rams close it out with 6 wins in a row and get to 13-4, and Stafford is putting up performance after performance like he did in the Monday night game, that's your MVP. No one's going to play better than that. The resume, the first 8 weeks, Stafford, we've already pointed this out, and we all know this is true, that after 8 weeks, Stafford was clearly the MVP. Then he went into a slump, did not play well for 3 games. Now he's back. The last couple games have been marvelous, and so right back in the mix. And all these criticisms, right? It reminds me of a famous sportscaster who pointed out that stats tell you what has happened, not what's going to happen. And so all your little Matthew Stafford stats, this, that, and the other thing, and all your little derogatory nicknames, keep throwing them out there. Although you seem to vanish because you're all a bunch of cowards once he plays well. I understand. You go run and hide. Hide behind the refrigerator. Get out of the way. All right, here's the Ben Maller Show. Let's hear from some of the participants here. Cliff Kingsbury, who decided not to kick a long field goal, went for it on a 4th down. One of the times Arizona turned it over on downs. That was in the second half. And Kingsbury, you'll hear the question and the answer, and trying to be Mr. Positive here. Mr. Positive, the glamour boy coach of the Arizona Cardinals.
How did you guys play overall, in your opinion?
Really hard, not very
hard,
clean, but I thought the effort was as good as we've had as far as start to finish. Some adverse situations, and guys continue to battle and continue to stay in the game, but just not clean enough.
Yeah. Maybe they'll give out Bullwinkle badges to the Cardinals because they played hard. They get a little ribbon they can put on their jersey. They played hard. Here's Kyler Murray, Alligator Arms Murray here. And Kyler, I think you should be very disappointed. Your team sucked at a time you cannot suck. You turned it over on downs several times. You kept throwing interceptions. This was an embarrassing performance, wasn't it?
Obviously, we lost. Everybody wanted to win. It's big night, big game for us. But I'm not discouraged by what happened tonight.
Why not? You should be. You sucked. You were terrible. You should be. This is proof he's not an MVP. Kyler, not discouraged by his performance. You should be discouraged. Do better. Go back into Frankenstein's lab and figure it out. Now here's Kyler Murray, who, boy, wasn't that a beautiful sack to end the game? Aaron Donald. Oh, God, that was poetry in motion. Big man versus little man. Advantage big man. Here is Kyler Murray pointing out that his team stunk on the final play of the game.
It was miscommunication between me and the O-line, and, they thought it was Spike. But no, it was, it was heat of the moment deal. I don't even recall, what was being said in the helmet or anything like that.
Yeah. That's a quarterback that's staggered, by the way, right there. That's a quarterback that's got to disconnect with his coaching staff. The moment was too big. As we said, he was completely stunned at the end of the game, dumbfounded, overwhelmed. trying to drink out of a fire hose. The little guy, Kyler Murray, there at the end of the game. Wow.